Hi, this is your Professor Sudha Kolathuparambil, Section 14.1, One-Way Analysis of Variance. In this section, I am going to explain you how to describe the data and hypothesis for one-way ANOVA, check the assumptions for one-way ANOVA, and perform a one-way ANOVA hypothesis test. Objective 1. Describe the data and hypothesis for one-way ANOVA. Testing more than two population means. We have already studied test for a null hypothesis that two population had equal means. There are situations where we want to compare 3, 4 or more population. In this situation, when appropriate assumptions are satisfied, we may test the hypothesis that all the population mean are equal. This is done with the method called analysis of variance or ANOVA in short. Welds used to join metal parts are made by heating powdered material called flux. In a study, 4 welding fluxes with differing chemical composition are prepared. The purpose of the study was to determine whether the welds made from the fluxes would have different degrees of hardness. 5 welds using each flux were made. The hardness of each was measured in Brinell units. The higher the number, harder the weld. We could think about the data that is generated by each welding flux as a different population. Furthermore, we may want to compare the mean of the performance of each welding flux. This may be possible situation to apply an ANOVA or analysis of variance. Data are gathered from the fluxes along with the sample means and standard deviations. This table represents the hardness of welds using 4 different fluxes A, B, C and D. And the corresponding sample mean and sample standard deviation are given. And flux C has the higher sample mean and flux A has the smaller sample mean. These results may change if the experiment was repeated and a different sample was selected. Because there is only one factor, here the factor is flux type, this is called one-way table. And the method of determining whether the population mean differ is called the one-way ANOVA. So the question we want to answer here is, can we conclude that there are differences in the population mean among the 4 flux types? In the previous example, we can identify a few variables. One variable is an outcome variable, that is hardness, and an explanatory variable, that is the flux type. The explanatory variable is qualitative and is called a factor. The outcome variable is called the response or response variable. The different values for the factor are called treatments. In this example, the different fluxes are called treatments. Because there is only one factor which is flux type, this is called a one factor experiment. Objective 2. Check the assumption for a one-way ANOVA. Data for a one-way analysis of variance consists of samples from several populations. The method of one-way ANOVA requires that the population satisfy the following assumptions. And the assumptions are, we have an independent simple random sample from 3 or more population. Each of the population must be approximately normal. The population must have the same variance. When the design is unbalanced, we can check the assumption of equal population variances by computing the largest sample standard deviation divided by the smallest sample standard deviation. And if the result is less than 2, we conclude that the assumption of equal population variances is satisfied. Balanced versus unbalanced design. When creating a one-way analysis of variance, we have a choice between a balanced or unbalanced design. A balanced design is when the sample sizes are all same. Although one-way analysis of variance can be used with both designs, the balanced design offers a bigger advantage. A balanced design is much less sensitive to violations of assumption of equality of variance than the unbalanced one. So in summary, with a balanced design, the effect of unequal variances is generally not great. With an unbalanced design, the effect of unequal variance can be substantial. The more unbalanced the design, greater the effect of unequal variances. Objective 3. Perform a one-way hypothesis test. Let's suppose that we have I samples, each from a different population. The table below represents a summary of various notation for conducting an ANOVA test. Since we have I samples, the sample will be 1, 2, 3 up to I. The population mean will be mu1, mu2, mu3 up to mu I. And the sample mean will be x1 bar, x2 bar, x3 bar up to xi bar. And the sample standard deviation will be S1, S2, S3 up to Si. And the sample size will be N1, N2, N3 up to Ni. Capital letter N is the total number of items in all samples combined, and X double bar is the grand mean, the average of all the items in all samples combined. For the data in the table below, find I, N1, N2, N3 up to Ni, and X3 bar and S2 and capital letter N and X bar. Here we have 4 samples and sample size of each one is 5. 4 samples means I equal 4. Sample size of each one is 5. So N1 equal, N2 equal, N3 equal, N4 equal 5. These are the sample means Xi bar and sample standard deviation Si. X3 bar means the sample mean of the third sample. This is the third sample. Sample mean is 271. S2 means sample standard deviation of the second sample. So that is 5.4037. N is the total number of all samples. That means N equal 20. X double bar or grand mean means average of all the items in the sample. So you can actually add all these and divide by 20, or you can add the sample means and divide by 4. Grand mean is 262.5. Hypothesis for one-way ANOVA. In one-way ANOVA, we test the null hypothesis that all the population means are equal versus the alternate hypothesis that 2 or more of the population means differ. Therefore, the hypothesis for one-way ANOVA are null hypothesis is mu1 equal, mu2 equal, mu3 equal up to mu I. That means all the population means are equal. And the alternate hypothesis is 2 or more of the mu I are different. This diagram represents the several hypothetical samples from different treatments along with their sample means and the sample grand mean. The sample means are spread out around the sample grand mean. One-way ANOVA provides a way to measure the spread. If the sample means are highly spread out, then it is likely that the treatment means are different, and we will reject the null hypothesis. The spread within each sample is influenced only by the size of the population standard deviation sigma. The spread of the sample means is influenced by both sigma and the differences among the population means. Treatment sum of squares or SSTR for short. The spread of the sample mean around the sample grand mean X double bar is measured by a quantity called treatment sum of squares SSTR, which is given by the formula N1 times X1 bar minus X double bar square plus N2 times X2 bar minus X double bar square, like that up to Ni times xi bar minus x double bar square. So all these are the distance from the sample mean to the grand mean. These are the sample mean. So this difference is the distance from the sample mean to the sample grand mean. And each square distance is multiplied by the sample size corresponding to its sample mean. So the means for the larger samples counts more. So this provides an indication of how different the treatment means are from each other. If SSTR or the treatment of sum of squares is large, then the sample means are spread out widely. And it is reasonable to conclude that the treatment means differ and we reject the null hypothesis. On the other hand, if SSTR is small, then the sample means are all close to each other. So it is plausible that the treatment means are equal. For the data in the table below, compute SSTR treatment sum of squares. The treatment sum of squares depends on the sample size, sample means and the sample grand means. The sample size is 5 for each sample. And the sample mean is given here for each sample. In order to find the sample grand mean, we can add all these number and divide by 20 or add all these number and divide by 4. Now we can substitute these values into this formula to find the SSTR. And use the calculator and you can find the value equals 743.4. Error sum of squares or SSE in short. Previously we stated that if the treatment sum of squares SSTR is large, then the sample means are spread out widely. And it is reasonable to conclude that the treatment mean differ and reject the null hypothesis. To determine whether SSTR is large enough to reject the null hypothesis, we compare it to another sum of squares called the error sum of squares or SSE in short. SSE measures the spread in the individual sample points around their respectively sample means. This spread is measured by combining the sample variances. SSE is given by this formula. The size of SSE depends only on the standard deviations of samples and it is not affected by the location of the treatment means relative to one another. SSE is influenced only by the population standard deviation sigma. For the data in the table below, compute SSE. So SSE depends only on the sample size and standard deviation. So we need the sample size. Sample size is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. So for each one, the sample size is 5 and standard deviation is given here. SSE will be n1 minus 1 times the square of the standard deviation. So 5 minus 1, that is 4 times the square of this number. Again 4 times square of this number plus 4 times square of this number plus 4 times square of this number. Then use the calculator and you can find that SSE is 1023.6. SSE means error sum of squares. Degrees of freedom. The sum of squares SSTR and SSE have different degrees of freedom. SSTR involves the deviation of I sample means around the grand mean. So SSTR has I minus 1 degrees of freedom. SSE involves the I sample variances. The degrees of freedom for the sample variances are n1 minus 1, n2 minus 1 up to ni minus 1. The degrees of freedom of SSE is the sum of these. If you add n1 plus n2 plus n3 plus n4 up to ni, that will be capital letter N. And we have negative 1 minus 1 minus 1 up to I. There are I ones, right? So then factor out negative. You will have 1 plus 1 plus, and there are I ones are there, that makes it I. So n minus 1. So SSE has n minus 1 degrees of freedom. When a sum of square is divided by its degree of freedom, the quantity obtained is called a mean square. When the treatment sum of square is divided by its degrees of freedom, that means this one divided by I minus 1, that is known as the treatment mean square. That is denoted by MSTR. And if we divide SSE by n minus I, we will get the error mean square, and it is denoted by MSE. MSE measure how spread out the samples are around their own means. In particular, MSE is estimate of sigma square, which is the variance of each of the populations. On the other hand, MSTR measures how spread out the sample means are around the grand mean. The spread is affected by sigma square and also by how spread out the population means are. MSE, or the error mean square, measures how spread out the samples are around their own means. It is an estimate of sigma square, which is the variance of each of the population. MSTR, or the treatment mean square, measures how spread out the sample means are around the grand mean. This spread out is affected by sigma square and also by how spread out the population means are. When the null hypothesis is true and for all population have the same means, then MSTR is an estimate of sigma square, just as MSE is. When the population means differ, MSTR tend to be larger than sigma square, thus larger than MSE. The test statistic for testing the null hypothesis, mu1 equal mu2 equal up to mu I, is F. That is the ratio of MSTR over MSE. When H0 is true, the numerator and denominator of F will be the same. So if you divide a number with the same number, you will get 1, right? That means F will be tends to be near 1. When H0 is false, MSTR tends to be larger. So this F value tends to be greater than 1. That means this will be larger. So if you are dividing a larger number by a smaller number, it will be a number greater than 1. When H0 is true, the test statistic F has a distribution with I minus 1 and n minus I degrees of freedom. And we usually denote by F, then I minus 1 comma n minus I as a subscript. Let's look at the procedure for performing the F test for one-way ANOVA using the critical value method and table A5. To test the null hypothesis, assuming that all the populations have the same means, versus the alternate hypothesis 2 or more of mu I differ. First, check for assumptions. We have independent simple random samples from 3 or more populations. Each of the population must be approximately normal and the population must all have the same variance. And then choose a significant level alpha. Then compute SSTR and SSE. Then compute MSTR and MSE. Then take the ratio of these two to find the F. Then find the critical value by using table A5 and the degrees of freedom I minus 1 and n minus I. And we reject the null hypothesis if the test statistic F is greater than or equal to the critical value. Then state a conclusion. We need to perform a one-way ANOVA test for the data given below. Test the null hypothesis that all the means are equal, and we need to use alpha equal 0.05 level of significance, and conclude. First, check for assumptions. This is the dot plot for the sample in this table. There are no indication of severe violation of the assumptions of approximate normality. All these samples have the same sample size and the design is balanced. There are 4 samples and we can start the problem by stating the null hypothesis that mu1, mu2, mu3 and mu4 are equal. State the null and alternate hypothesis, then choose the significant level alpha is 0.05, it is given in the problem. Then compute SSTR and SSE. We already computed this in the previous example, so if you don't remember that, please refer that. Step 4, compute MSTR and MSE. We have 4 samples and 20 total of samples. So you can use this value divided by 4 minus 1 and use this value divided by 20 minus 4. Now compute the test statistic F. That is the ratio of these two numbers, that is 3.8734. Now find the critical value. Degrees of freedom are I minus 1, that is 3, and n minus I, that is 16. We are using table A5 to find the critical value. Look at the column correspond to 3 and the row correspond to 16, but you can see there are more than 116 here. So we need to choose a row for which the tail area is equal to the significant level 0.05. So that is this row, second row in 16. So these two intersect at 3.24, that is the critical value. Now compare the test statistic and the critical value. So F is greater than the critical value, so we reject the null hypothesis. We are rejecting the null hypothesis means we are going with the statement of the alternate hypothesis. That means 3 or more fluxes will have different means. That means at least 2 fluxes will have different means. So we can conclude that the mean hardness is not same for all the fluxes. So now you know how to describe the data and the hypothesis for one-way ANOVA and check the assumptions for one-way ANOVA and perform a one-way ANOVA hypothesis test.